I'm gonna react to Coach Fitbrit's video where she teaches about Kettlebells 101. It's Kettlebells for beginners actually with a workout. We both belong to the same club because Brittany van Schravendijk, I think I pronounced it right, I hope so. We belong to the same club, the club of the unpronounceable family names. That's what's up. Let's see how she does it. Grüß veteran, Gregory van Lebe. Let's dive right into the reaction. What I want to say right now is she is a world champion. She's not only a coach, she's also a world champion, and she knows her stuff.
What I like about these is they're hollow cast, which means they've got this hole in the bottom, and that means that the weight is going to be more balanced and it's going to be more accurate in terms of what it says on the bell is really the weight of the kettlebell.
I think that's something that's very important when you are an athlete, when you compete with kettlebells, then you have to know what weight you're actually using. And of course you want to use a quality kettlebell, 100%. Now we don't have hollow cast, and sometimes they have some issues inside of it. It sometimes sounds a little broken, or some stuff is not as good. And I've heard good stuff about Kettlebell Kings. So 100% right, make sure you invest a little money for a high quality kettlebell so you have fun, even if you're not an athlete. And maybe you can say, okay, maybe I don't need a hollow cast because I'm not competing, so I'm just looking for a good competition brand that produces kettlebells that are maybe a little cheaper than the hollow cast ones, and then you're totally fine.
Once you know that you're choosing a quality product, you're going to have to decide what weight to get. So if you're first starting out, I would recommend for women getting either an 8 kilo bell or a 12 kilo bell, which is about 18 pounds or 26 pounds. And for men, I would recommend getting either a 12 kilo bell or a 16 kilo bell.
We say the same, actually 100%, and I like it when you have learned something because you're working with clients, the experience taught you some stuff, and then you have somebody like Coach Fitbrit, who is not only a coach but also a world champion, confirm what you already do, confirm your experience. I really like it. We also say 8 kilograms for women, 12 kilograms for men, maybe 12 kilo for women or 16 for men who are a little bit stronger, 100%.
Either 26 pounds or 35 pounds. And that's really going to be a great place to start so that you can utilize the kettlebell for a range of movements and you can get a great workout with just one or two different weights.
100%. And sometimes people say, well, when I master the swing, I think the weight is too light. What you can think about, or what you have to memorize, is the fact that you can use the kettlebell also for overhead stuff, cleaning and pressing and jerking, snatching, and maybe then the kettlebell is still the perfect weight for you to work with it. And what you can do is you don't have to go to a heavier weight just because you've mastered the swing. You can still stick with your kettlebell and just maybe do the movements a little faster, more reps, or decrease the rest in between, or work for a longer time. These are actually the methods that we use the 4 rules of progressive overload. So these 3 rules come first before you can choose a heavier weight, 100%.
So before you start your workout with the kettlebell, it's good to go through a body weight warm-up. So if you're trying to figure out what to do in order to warm up to lift kettlebells, I would say first and foremost, start off with something that's going to get your heart rate up and start to get you sweating just for a few minutes. So that could either be jogging, biking, it could be doing high knees in place, it could be doing jumping jacks, just something easy, dynamic that's going to start to get you warm, start to get the body primed.
Good stuff.
Once you've done that, it's great to run through some body weight exercise of what you're going to be doing with the kettlebell. So for example, if you're going to be squatting holding a kettlebell, it's great to do some body weight squats just to start to get the legs warmed up. Okay?
100%. What we also do, and what we differ just a little bit, is we have it the other way around. What we first do is just some mobility stuff. We don't do the exercise in itself. First, what we do is just open up the hips, open up the shoulders, because these 2 areas are always a little bit tight. And then we use a dynamic warm-up, some quick feet, high knees, jumping jacks, whatever, like she says it. So, and I like the fact that she differentiates it. So dynamic warm-up is something that gets your heart rate up, and mobility stuff is something to open up your muscles, prepare your connective tissues to get ready for the workout.
What we want to learn first and foremost with the bells is how to pick them up safely. And really what this means is learning how to do the kettlebell deadlift. So the deadlift would be really the first most basic movement that I would teach anybody when they're starting to learn how to lift kettlebells.
We do the same thing. We do the same thing. We teach beginners the first thing that they learn from us, with us, is the kettlebell deadlift. And it's one of the things to learn how to pick up a kettlebell. And the other thing that is also very important is picking up stuff in general. So when you learn how to work with the kettlebell, picking it up, this can transfer into your everyday life, where you understand to lift stuff not with your back, but with your strongest muscles, and these are your legs.
And what a deadlift really is what we call a hinge movement. Hinging means that you're creasing at your hips with a slight bend in the knees and keeping your back flat.
Yeah.
So when you're learning how to do this, you want to think about maintaining a neutral spine position. So as opposed to rounding your back to pick something up, we're going to think about pulling the belly button in and keeping a flat back in order to pick something up.
That's what a lot of people do instinctively. If they pick up stuff rounding the back, they tilt their bodies forward and pick stuff up. And as soon as it gets a little heavier, this may be dangerous or detrimental for your lower back. So that's why you have to learn to get that straight back.
I want to make sure that my tailbone is not tucked underneath, but I'm pushing my tailbone out, and my back stays in this nice flat position.
Good stuff.
And once I've kind of got that movement pattern down, here, hinging forward and straightening up, that's essentially just what I'm going to do in order to lift a kettlebell weight safely. So we always want to make sure that the kettlebell is right in between the feet, so we keep the weight close, very close to the body. The farther out the weight is, the more weight that's going to place on your lower back.
And 100% I agree. That's what happens when you create an additional unnecessary moment arm. If you keep the weight in the middle of your foot, then you keep the weight inside your center of mass. As soon as you go outside the center of mass, the further outside the center of mass, the further out you go, the longer the additional and unnecessary moment arm gets. Your muscles have to compensate for that unnecessary force it creates because it's way further out. So keep it close, like she says, in order to lift it properly.
So as long as the kettlebell is between the feet, we've got it in a perfect position to start. So from here, you want to make sure that you set yourself up in that hinged position, flat back, and really we're picking up the weight with our legs. So we're pushing the ground away as we hold on to the kettlebell to lift it up to the top. So when I'm doing this lift, I'm mostly going to feel the weight of the kettlebell in my hamstrings and my glute muscles. So again, you're going to feel that by really pushing those hips back.
Get to the chopper! Arnold Schwarzenegger flying around and seeing if she does it right. I like that chopper noise.
As opposed to keeping your chest up this way is going to be a little heavier on the lower back. So starting with those hips back,
that's what's up,
and then driving up from the floor. This is going to be your most basic kettlebell exercise.
So what we could say, when you look at how Mark Ripto from Starting Strength is teaching the deadlift, she's in that 90-degree angle, so the perfect angle will be 45 degrees, just pushing your knees out a little bit more, bending them a little bit, pushing your hips down a little bit, push and pulling your shoulders back so that you get your 45-degree angle. That's the perfect way how Mark Ripto teaches the deadlift and how we teach it, but this is just a small difference. It's totally fine. And because this is more like you could say even a Romanian deadlift, maybe. And as soon as the weights get heavier, this may have some additional strain on your lower back. That's why Mark Ripto teaches the way with the 45-degree angle, but that's totally fine as well.
And that's how you want to pick up the weight to make sure to protect your lower back. So for this workout, it should take you less than 30 minutes to complete. You're going to do 30-second timed intervals of 4 different movements. The kettlebell deadlift, the kettlebell 2-arm clean, a goblet squat, and then an overhead press.
That's actually what we do as well. We choose the first thing that you do when you start working out with us in personal training is the deadlift, then we learn the goblet squat, and then we learn the press. Exactly. What we don't do is the double-handed clean. That we do that at a later stage. I like that. I like that idea. And she uses the 4-time method. You don't have to count reps.
Once you've completed 2 or 3 rounds of that, depends on your fitness level, then you're going to combine those 4 movements to do a little kettlebell flow, doing 1 repetition of each exercise and repeating. You can set a clock. I would recommend just try 1 minute, keep moving through that flow of 4 exercises, and then if you want to try it again, you can do 2 or 3 more sets.
What I would recommend is, as a beginner, maybe it's the best thing to just work with the exercise in itself. So 1 or 2 minutes of deadlift, then the squat, and then the press consecutively. The flows are cool, and yet maybe some beginners have trouble because if you don't have the deadlift down pat and then you start a goblet squat, which is also very tricky, can be tricky at the end, or can be maybe too difficult. And what you do is, if you do an exercise continuously, one after the other, deadlift, 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 what happens is you will profit from the so-called law of exercise, and that means you will store the information in your cerebellum way faster, way better if you have the right information, and that leads to the fact that maybe your technique will improve even faster. And the flow is something that I would advocate, or maybe just recommend, after you have just went through that initial stage of understanding the lifts in itself.
So for this basic kettlebell routine, all it requires is 1 kettlebell. There's not a lot of technique involved. There's just one of the movements that's a little bit more advanced, but really they're all fairly basic.
And the reason why she says that is I can tell that she's working with people. Because if you're starting out as a coach and then you teach, for example, a snatch to a beginner, you will find out, oh, that's not the right exercise selection. When you work with beginners, some people even have a very poor kinesthetic sense. The reason why she's choosing these exercises, which are technically not as advanced, is very simple. You can do these exercises without having to think about them as much. And you can get a workout in without having to learn heavy or difficult stuff at first. So you see, that's the experience with clients that she has 100%. I really like it.
Our next movement, this one, tiny bit more challenging, right? But essentially what you're going to do is use your deadlift, stand up a little quicker, and then re-grip the kettlebell handle. So it's called a 2-arm clean. What you're going to do is you're going to start like your deadlift. You're going to push the floor away,
boom,
and then you're going to grab hold of the side of the handles. Then you're just going to let it come right back down to the floor, making sure the back is flat.
What we actually do differently is we pull the kettlebell up, and then the handle points towards your collarbone. You keep it close to your body, and then the bell looks up. What that does is it doesn't put a lot of strain on your biceps, which is maybe a little easier. That's the only difference.
Movement number 3 is going to be our kettlebell squat or goblet squat. So for this movement, you'll use your 2-arm clean to set yourself up here, and then you're going to sink down into a squat. You can just go to whatever range of motion that's possible for you. I think about letting my elbows tap the inside of my knees if possible.
That's what's up. And the reason why she does this, I think that's a very good cue. I like it because a front squat or a goblet squat is actually uses the biomechanics of a front squat. So you have to push your knees out, your legs out, to make sure your upper body stays straight. And if you think about that, your elbows are touching the inside of your knees, you actually memorize the fact that you have to push your legs out. I really like this. So what we do differently right here is we grab the kettlebell, pull it up, then we have the heavy part of the bell right between our palms, and the handle is facing down. And then you keep the kettlebell close to your body, to your collarbone. What that does is you will use your stronger muscles, your chest muscles, to stabilize the kettlebell. As with this grip, you use your biceps, which may be tricky and may cause strain, and then you have to put it down because your biceps is actually failing and not your leg muscles. So that's what we do different.
Then the last one we're going to do is a press overhead. So for this one, again, set yourself up, use that 2-arm clean. And then you're going to press that kettlebell up, straighten the arms at the top.
So what we also do differently right here is we grab the kettlebell, pull it up, then we have the handle. Same thing, pointing down to us like in the double-handed clean, and then you straighten your arms. So that way, it's the same thing with the biceps. The biceps doesn't have a lot of strain. And when you press the kettlebell overhead, you have the possibility to really go into your center of mass probably a little bit better, and it's a little bit easier than grabbing the kettlebell like she does. And we always get the question when they see us do it like this is, did the kettlebell ever fall outside of your hand on somebody's head? No, it didn't. You can have a really firm grip, and that's totally fine. So now what I want to introduce is a rating system, because people actually like these reaction videos. Now, the first thing that I want to rate is production quality of the video. The second thing is the knowledge of the coach, and the third thing is the personality of the coach. I'm going to use a 5-star system. 1 star is and 5-star is top notch. Production quality from Coach Fitbrit is top notch. I like the scenery. I like that she uses different camera angles, and she uses a mic. That's good stuff. That's 5 out of 5. Her knowledge, it's 5 out of 5 as well, because first of all, she's a coach and she's a world champion. So she knows her stuff. And number 2, her personality. I like her vibe. I like how she's teaching the stuff. I see that she's talking from experience. So that's another 5 out of 5 as well. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like it, consider subscribing if you want to see more kettlebell content, and check out 90 Days of Kettlebells. You'll find a link in the description. It's a workout program that we have designed where we combine kettlebell training with simple and easy to follow nutrition coaching. Link is in the description. Catch you in the next one. Peace out.